Carter, it's been a while. We have to talk about Illinois. I'm mad. Okay, nice. I was gonna tee you up for something, but you beat me to the punch.
Sorry.
Still might try in a few moments.
Okay.
Illinois loses to Penn State at home in blowout fashion, shortly after beating Texas on the road. Well, a neutral site game in Madison Square Garden in overtime. Highs and lows, man. Talk about a week for Illinois from looking like they might have just beat the best team in the country to laying a giant egg at home and having your head coach criticize your effort. We are like, what, 5 days late in talking about this? That's because we were on the road filming College Hoops to Go, our travel series that will be released in January for the Field of 68. We were at Nebraska for Purdue at Nebraska, and then we were at Iowa for Wisconsin at Iowa. It was a blast. Stay tuned. We're coming to Champaign for a game in January on a Friday, Michigan State at Illinois. We're going to work on some plans to hopefully meet up with Illinois fans for that as well. So stay tuned there. But we need to revisit, backtrack, and talk about Illinois' loss here. And not just the loss, but the fallout from head coach Brad Underwood and the team. Essentially, the big moment that's been clipped and everyone saw it. He was asked about Terrence Shannon's leadership, to which he answered, that was the answer. Terrence Shannon has since come to Twitter and
What was that?
essentially,
You might have to do that noise again because I don't know what that sounded like in my head.
that sounded different than, is that better?
There, it sounded like that. Literally can't hear anything when you do that. Oh, there we go. That's pretty good.
We've gone off the rails. Look, Terrence Shannon went to Twitter immediately. Well, not immediately. I think like a day after this happened, and essentially said there's no one he'd rather play for, yada, yada, et cetera, et cetera. This is bad, right? This is just bad. There's no way to frame this as a positive when your head coach is calling out your best player's effort, saying there's no leadership, nobody wants to be here, when you just got dog walked by a Penn State team that Michigan State just beat at Penn State 3 days before.
Yeah, I really don't know the positive spin on this, and honestly, I expect this to kind of. I'm interested to see what the reaction will be to my reaction to this. I'm just not with the whole. It's more of an older style to me. Like I understand you want to keep your players accountable. To me, that's a situation that you go into the locker room and take it like this. Obviously, no one knows their team more than the head coach of their team. Like Brad Underwood knows his team. He probably knows how to get the best out of them, knows what to do. But I'm not with the whole coming into the press conference. And I know what you're going to say because I can see it in your
Yeah,
face.
no shit.
What?
What are we doing right now? You, the biggest Tom Izzo fan I know, are
I
not a
don't
fan
like
of
it.
publicly criticizing players?
It's not about, okay, there's publicly criticizing, and then there's eviscerating your whole team in a press conference. I mean, it wasn't just the no Lisa. This team has no leadership. This team has no fight. This team hasn't wanted to be here at all since the last game. These last few practices are the worst days of practice I've ever had since I've been in Champaign. This team needs to go wallow in self pity and go walk around and don't hold their head high during finals week. They're an embarrassment to the universe. I mean, the words and adjectives that were used to describe what happened. Like, I'm not with that. That's an older style of coaching. Do that in the locker room, maybe. Do what you got to do. But I just don't, I just don't. I'm not with the just eviscerating your team like that in the press conference directly after the game. I think there's another way to go about that.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to spend the whole segment on this, but like Tom Izzo does this. Don't you love it?
No,
So you don't like when Tom Izzo does things like this?
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because I used to play or whatever, but like I've been cooked. And granted, this ain't no press conference on ESPN, but just so people know, D3 basketball games, they actually have press conferences. Like we had like an Albion, Gazette beat writer at games who would write about basketball games. And like I've been like called out before, and it's an ass feeling.
Yeah.
It's a terrible feeling. Obviously, I'm a different player. I react differently to things. There's probably players on Illinois that react differently to this, but I just don't see how that is said. And this team is just like, coach is just calling us out. Like, coaches, no, like he let him have it.
Yeah. 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 Fascinated by you taking that stance just with who you are as a Michigan State fan, but I'll let it go. We won't make that the whole segment. I appreciate the honesty. I appreciate your candor, your opinion there. I did not like this either, but I also can step back and think it's pretty funny. Like Brad is hilarious. Daddy Brad, once again, man. Like we called him Daddy Brad, and now he's just become this persona of a basketball coach. And it's really interesting to watch from the outside because obviously we are not Illinois fans, but we do have a soft spot for this team. We really like the players on this team. And I really do like Brad Underwood. I've called him the best coach in the Big Ten. I love everything about the Illinois program, except I don't love this. I think this was really weak. I think it was a massive overreaction, first of all. Like the season is young. Yes, you just lost at Maryland last week, but you were 3 days removed from beating the number one team in the country at the time in Texas on a high profile game where everybody's effort was great. And then you laid an egg. It is what it is. You laid an egg at home. It was a come down spot and they didn't play well. Terrence Shannon was horrible, but to pin a lot of that on him and do so in such a honestly immature way with the sound effect, like I didn't like it. I guess I enjoyed it from a content perspective just to watch it, but I'm surprised. I'm surprised the players came out and like defended that or like Terrence immediately made a moment. Credit to
There's nothing else they can do.
well, I give him credit for doing it. Like that's a mature move from Terrence Shannon to, come out and like actually put some sort of statement out there. I would have just like tucked my head in my shell and said nothing if that happened to me.
Posted a
Um,
posted a cryptic IG.
right. Okay. Well, like if this happened at North Carolina,
black and white, me versus me. Oh, Caleb Love would have had a field day.
Caleb Love would have had a field day. So credit to Shannon, who is showing maturity. Honestly, Carr, you could say showing some leadership by the way he responded to this. Maybe I don't know. Just saying. Here's the other part of this though for me, Cart, is that this is kind of who Terrence Shannon is. Like, can we go back through his career at Texas Tech? Like, inconsistency is a part of Terrence Shannon. So, like, yeah, you want to coach that out of him. You want to put him in a spot to be more successful. You hope he grows. You hope he develops as he gets into his upperclassman years. But like, this is who Terrence Shannon and Matthew Meyer have been as players. If you're going to put those guys in big roles, you got to expect you're not going to get greatness from them every night.
But this is where I'm at with actually throw Matthew Meyer out of just Terrence Shannon. I think that there's an adjustment period that's still going on for Terrence Shannon because you point to his Texas Tech days when he had those inconsistencies. They were more so pushed to the side, I think, because he wasn't a guy that they looked to for leadership at Texas Tech or a guy that they looked to be that guy at Texas Tech. Now, I think he is the leader, clearly, of Illinois.
Coleman's the leader. Coleman's the leader. Shannon's the best player. Coleman's the leader.
I still think Shannon. I think Shannon's the leader of the team.
Okay.
And that's not a shot at Coleman. I think Coleman's a leader too, but I think Shannon is the guy who's the leader of this basketball team. And when he has these inconsistent performances or performances like this, it's going to be brought to the forefront more because of the position that he's in, I think.
That's fair.
So I think there's an adjustment period for him a little bit. That's still ongoing. Like you said, it's early in the Big Ten season, and not to, hang moral banners or hang banners or anything like that. Penn State's we already stated on a couple episodes ago, or when we just recorded before we got on this, like we are high on Penn State as a basketball team, and teams laying eggs at home in the Big Ten happens. Like it does. It can be a lot worse. You could lose to Northwestern at home.
It does happen. It doesn't happen to championship teams, though. Which is where we're gonna have to talk about this in just a moment. But no, Penn State, you're right. Penn State's gonna do this to teams. Like that's who Penn State is. Michigan State, we talked about it on Unscripted. That's gonna release later today. Like they dodged a bullet. Penn State missed a lot of relatively open threes. Some games Penn State's just gonna shoot 12 for 24 from three and run you out of the gym. Like the way they play basketball, that's gonna happen. And that happened tonight, and Illinois didn't respond. But yeah, here's my thing to bring it full circle and. Maybe we'll really piss off Illinois fans with this one. I don't know. But one, championship teams don't do this at home. Championship teams protect home court. They take care of business. Illinois is now 0-2 in the Big Ten. They are tied with Nebraska and Minnesota for last place in the Big Ten. the two teams that they have beaten, or the two teams they have lost to in Big Ten play, lost their other two games in Big Ten. Penn State and Maryland are 1-1, also near the bottom of the standings right now. They just beat Illinois, who's 0-2. I think they lost two very winnable games. You can say what you want at Maryland, tough spot. Sure, fine. Maryland's falling apart right now. Doesn't appear to be that good of a basketball team like we thought they might be. So this is crunch time. I know it's early in the Big Ten season, but for a team and a program that has had this championship trajectory of being the best team in the Big Ten the past couple of years with Kofi Cockburn, this is a really, really, really alarming start. Like, you got to at least split those games. And looking at their schedule coming up, they have a couple cupcake non-conference games. They're at Northwestern. You got to hope they win that one. And then home to Wisconsin, at Nebraska. I mean, if you could somehow go 3-0 in that span, things are pretty open. But you're in a spot now where you kind of need to go 3-0 in that span, which is a little terrifying for an Illinois team I don't really trust. And final thing for me right now, Brad Underwood, man. I love you. I genuinely love you. Daddy Brad, think you're the best coach in the conference. But that press conference cart, he's really acting like he's done some things he hasn't. Like, can we acknowledge that?
Is the front one? And we're not bringing out the F word, are we?
There's a lot of like carrying yourself like you are this winning guy, where there's like a lack of effort and consistency for one game is just so unacceptable. Like, have you seen your teams through your career? Like,
let me push back on that, G.
Okay.
Whether you have done it or not, if you do want to be a champion, you got to hold yourself to a certain standard. So I'm not mad at that. I'm not.
I hear you and I agree. I respect it. I think that message resonates a little more coming from someone who has won anything of substance at the highest level. Like Brad has a Big Ten championship. Give him credit. He's got a long way to go this season to get back there. And look, coaches can say, do whatever they want. I'm not here to criticize that. I think if Brad wants to hold his guys accountable, he absolutely should do that. I had a hard time. Like, to me, honestly, the difference, I made fun of it earlier with you, but like, if Tom Izzo hits a podium and does this, I'm like, well, shit, the man's made 8 Final Fours. He knows what he's talking about.
You're not saying that.
At least there's that element to it, though, right?
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
I'll criticize it because I don't like it no matter who does it. But at least it's like, you can't really question it. This guy knows what he's doing. With Brad, it's like, are we sure? Like, are we sure that stretch wasn't just Kofi Cockburn? Are we positive? They're 0-2 right now with a really talented team.
He was part of Kofi being there, so you can't just like discredit him for those years.
Yeah, have you seen his record outside of it though? I mean,
yeah, but Illinois fans were quick to point out that when he took over Illinois, it was a shit show.
You're right.
Which I overlooked when you first said it, but still, it's a pattern's a pattern.
They got to win their next game.
They got to win. But overall, I'm not down with the press conference. Like, that's a no for any coach for me. I'm not gonna change my stance on that one.
Okay. All right. Illinois fans, hopefully we can meet up with you in Champaign in a couple weeks. Happy holidays, everybody out there. Any final words for the people, Cart?
Spread some cheer this holiday season. And win your Big Ten games.
Tough to do. Happy holidays.